Kara lived on a tropical island. She was a diligent fisherman, tasked with providing sustenance for her family and supporting her small island community. Kara had a lean, agile frame, honed by the daily toil of a fisherman's life. However, fortune had turned its back on her, and for several days, the sea remained stubbornly barren of fish. One fateful day, Kara set out on her usual fishing expedition, the weight of her family's hunger heavy on her shoulders. As she cast her net into the depths, it snagged on something unexpected, an old, weathered bottle. Intrigued, Kara pulled it up and, with a sense of curiosity, uncorked the bottle. Suddenly, a puff of smoke emerged, forming into a towering, ruddy genie named Law. He looked down at Kara, frowning but with a strange grin tugging at his lips. Law, the genie, was a remarkable sight to behold. Floating high and imposing, he exuded an air of ancient wisdom and mysterious power. His skin had a ruddy hue, reminiscent of the rich earth, and seemed to shimmer with a subtle luminescence, as if harboring an ethereal glow within. Law stretched and yawned, revealing his discontent with being trapped in the bottle. He introduced himself. "I am Law, genie of this lamp. I am not a typical genie and didn't grant wishes. However, I am feeling unusually generous today, so I offered you a single wish." Law paused. "Well, before I go off to stir up trouble on that island over there." He pointed to Kara's island village, several miles away. "But," Kara cried, "that is my village." "Really?" Law's smile grew more devious. "Well, choose your wish carefully. I want to trade places with you," Kara said. "What did you say?" asked Law. Law was quiet and looked down at the human. "If you are going to terrorize my home, I want to trade places with you so my home is safe," Kara said. "I don't think that is a good wish," Law hesitated. "That is my wish," Kara raised her voice. "Make it so." In a swift and mesmerizing transformation, Law, the mighty genie, became a young boy, and Kara found herself unchanged, seemingly back to her normal self. However, a peculiar sensation soon overcame her. As moments passed, she realized her size was growing, her form expanding into an immense, towering figure, hovering over her small boat. Bewildered and alarmed, Kara looked down and saw the vessel dwarfed beneath her colossal frame. Panic welled within her, but she soon noticed an intriguing anomaly. Resting on the boat was a slender, azure crystal bottle. With a swift gesture, Law tossed Kara's bottle over his shoulder. The bottle drifted in the ocean for a moment and then, slowly, started to sink. As the bottle sank, so did Kara. Law watched her sink and waved goodbye, still smiling. After Kara was gone, Law picked up the oars and started to row towards the shore. When she looked down, she saw that her bottle had stopped, resting on a bed of seaweed. She noticed for the first time, she was not drowning or needed to breathe air. She grabbed the bottle and thought about her home. In an instant, she was back on the beach, holding her bottle and was totally dry. With a thought, she created a shoulder bag and placed her bottle inside. She looked ahead and noticed smoke in the distance. As she drew closer to the village, she saw people running and yelling. Some of the homes were filled with smoke and a fire blazed in different areas. Running around, with a torch in his hand and laughing, was Law. "Wonderful," Law yelled. "So much to see. So much to do." Kara looked up towards the horizon. With a thought, she rubbed her hands and dark skies started to form. Within minutes, rain danced upon the top of the houses. As more rain came down, the fires were put out and only left the smell of burned wood and grass. Law stopped running and saw that his own torch was now wet. He looked up and saw Kara. "It's you," Law grumbled. "I didn't expect to see you so soon." Before Kara could complain and scold Law, the boy snapped his fingers. Kara found herself face down in the sand. She stood, brushing herself off and spitting out the sand. She snapped her fingers and she was clean again. "Madness," Kara muttered. Before she left, she noticed that her boat was on the beach. Inside the boat was Law's old genie bottle. She took it and began looking for him. Around the village, Kara asked several people if they had seen Law. She was pointed inland to where the field animals were. Upon arrival, she noticed that the cows and chickens were running around. In the midst of the animals was Law. He was holding a large jar of honey and laughing. All of the animals were covered in honey and were pestered by thousands of flies. "Wonderful!" Law yelled. "So much space to run! So much honey to eat!" Law stopped running and turned to see Kara was standing across the field with an angry expression. "I see you're back," Law said. Kara didn't wait to ask any more questions. Instead, she held up her hand and a large bone appeared. She waved it around. "Here, boy! Here, boy!" From the distance, Kara and Law could hear dogs barking. Within seconds, a large pack of dogs were running at full speed towards her. At the last moment, she threw the bone at Law. The dogs all turned and started to chase Law. Law threw down the honey and started to run. He tried to throw away the bone, but it was too sticky. He yelled as the dogs chased him and the bone. Kara looked at the horizon and thought for a moment. She raised her hand and twirled her fingers. Suddenly, a wind swept across the field, blowing the flies away. Once the animals were no longer bothered by the flies, Kara went off to find Law. After a moment, she saw the dogs were surrounding Law, barking and growling. Law was too occupied to use his powers to scare the dogs away. "You did this!" Law pushed and pulled away from the dogs. Kara reached in her bag and pulled Law's old bottle. "You wouldn't dare!" Law looked surprised. "Would you?" Swiftly, she raised Law's old Genie bottle up and threw it down to the ground. It shattered into hundreds of pieces. She looked at Law. Law looked up at Kara and then at the bottle. Law snapped his fingers. Nothing happened. Law pointed to Kara and yelled. Kara smiled. "You are now a real boy," Kara said. "I would suggest that you learn to be nice now that you are no longer a genie." "But," Law said, "I'm over 1,000 years old. I've always been a genie. What would I do?" Kara smirked. "I have an idea." She snapped her fingers. Soon, the two were sitting on a boat, several miles away from the island. Kara stood up and pointed. "That is west. If you go there, you should find plenty of fish to take back to the island. The villagers will be upset with you, but you can share the fish. Maybe they will forgive you for your tricks." Before Law could protest, Kara stepped off the boat and started to walk on top of the water. After a few minutes, she raised her head and drifted up into the sky. As she rose higher, she thought about the different places that she had dreamed of and what her next adventure would be. Thanks for watching.